Amaama to Inazuma, otherwise known as Sweetness and Lightning, is an anime that is done by studio TMS Entertainment. TMS Entertainment is the animation studio, and this anime came out, it premiered in the summer of 2016, so we're doing summer anime now. Catching up. And this is an anime, Kazuo, you passed this, I believe.
Sure did.
And why is it exactly that you were the one, what was it about the first 3 episodes that pulled you into the show and made you want to watch it?
So, Sweetness and Lightning, in short, is a show about an adult male who is a school teacher who has a young daughter who is in preschool, I guess. So she's what, like 4 or something like that?
Yeah, I got the vibe of like 4 from her.
And so it's him and his... What is that? Why? So anyways...
Never mind.
You're just going off
I'm going
with
to
the
bottle
drops.
that one up and tuck it away in my pocket.
Oh, no.
It is anime.
Oh, no. Mitsuki.
Well...
Wait, what?
Nothing. Anyways, so he's a single father. Apparently his wife died about a year before the show begins, a little less than a year.
And you know that because they have the little shrine in their house.
Right, as they often do in anime. So it's basically this young man with a small child, a small daughter, and he's trying to raise her on his own without his wife. And it's difficult for him. He obviously has to work full time, and he's kind of a stereotypical Japanese man in that he doesn't know how to do the things that usually in Japan the wife would take care of, like taking care of the home and cooking and things like that. So it's him trying to figure out how to take care of this young girl, specifically how to cook for her. The whole show's about food, and he meets, and this all happens in the first 3 episodes. He meets one of his students. He's walking with his daughter around town looking for a restaurant. They walk into a restaurant, it's empty, and
it's always empty.
Yeah, and there's just a girl there, and he's
well,
like,
no, that's not how they find her.
Oh, is
they
that not
find
it?
her
Oh,
in
you're
the
right.
park.
So they're walking.
Yes.
They're walking around, and I was gonna say one of the
You're
things
right,
that
my
I
bad.
think is you're good. One of the things that I think is interesting about this anime is I would almost also say that the father starts out in kind of a depressed state where he's keeping going. And he's trying to do right by his daughter. Mm-hmm. But at one point, they're walking in the park and they see a girl who's crying because she's eating something. And she's like, I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because the food is so good or something like that.
And she shares with the little girl.
And she shares with the little girl and she gives the father a business card. And she's like, by the way, this is my family's restaurant if you ever are hungry, that kind of thing. And shortly after that, the little daughter comments how all her father feeds her is boxed food.
Right.
And
'Cause he can't
bento.
cook.
Because he can't cook. And how she never... And it breaks him down. Like, it's that moment where his daughter is basically saying, oh, another boxed lunch or dinner.
And he's dealing with the issue that, like, in his... You could tell that in his psyche, like, he's having trouble because he feels like he can't properly take care of his daughter without his wife. And so he's struggling with that, balancing. I mean, it's hard enough to just have a child, period, even with a significant other. But then having that person taken away from you and being like, now this is all on you.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I want to call bullshit on this anime.
How so?
Huh?
Well, rather than having us all just like agree that this anime is pretty good, I want to call bullshit on it real quick.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
he's a teacher.
Yes.
He teaches high school. I am pretty aware of a lot of teachers in Japan because I used to work in Japan at 5 schools and had a number of teachers that you would classify as being in this guy's age bracket.
Okay.
And I can tell you that school ends and you go home at about 5 o'clock. You're home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, like, all he ever feeds his daughter is boxed lunches, right? Well, I would say, Shiagi's making like a furrow brow face at me. But I'm saying, first of all, why can't he learn to cook? Like, he's struggling to take care of his daughter, but one, he could learn how to cook, first of all. Mm-hmm. But 2, why don't you take her out to a restaurant? Like, it's 5 o'clock. It isn't like you're getting home at 10:30. Pick her up, take her to a restaurant, and eat some real food rather than just buying convenience store boxes.
Couple things. One, in general, I do think teachers get home later, especially high school teachers, because the schools you worked at were elementary schools, and high school teachers oftentimes have other responsibilities following schools where they have to manage clubs, oversee cleaning, and they're just expected to stay, as is the Japanese work ethic. Two,
the teachers at my elementary school stayed after and did clubs and stuff. But school ends at 3, and they do their clubs till about 4:30 or 5, and then they leave.
okay.
I mean, okay, and 2.
At your elementary school.
At my elementary school.
So
Yes.
it could be different for high school.
2, they actually do talk about the fact that he does take her out to family restaurants. And that's one of the things she mentions, that it's just because he even mentions to her, do you want to go out to a family restaurant? And she's like, no, we kind of do that. And for everyone listening, a family restaurant in kind of American terms, that's like an Olive Garden, a Panera, that kind of vibe of restaurant. It's not like a family-owned mom and pop shop, hole in the wall place. That's what they mean when they say like a Denny's is a family restaurant. And 3, I forgot other points you made, but I remember thinking that they were wrong.
That's what I said. He could learn how to cook.
Oh, but that's what the anime's about. That's literally the plot of the anime.
Yeah, but it took him a year to figure that shit out. That maybe he should pay attention and maybe spend an hour of his life. He can't even cook.
I'm sorry, when your wife dies.
Whoa.
I know
He
the
can't-
love of his life and mother of his daughter was.
Let me
is
just
dead.
say. Let me just say that I've never seen a person so inept in my life at cooking for an adult. Whether he's 20 years old or 30 or however old he is, he's somewhere between there. He can't even cut a carrot. Okay?
Well, that's
he
a good
can't
point.
even cut a carrot at the beginning of this anime.
They take some artistic
And
liberties.
I'm just going to tell you that, first of all, any living human being on Earth should be able to cut a carrot. And second of all, it wouldn't take a whole lot of practicing cooking to learn how to cut a carrot. He has taken 0 effort. Nothing. In the first whole year after his wife died, he
Here's
did
the
not want
question.
a drop of effort to learn how to cook.
What if he
Mitsuki,
was?
you are heartless.
I'm just saying. Well, I mean, come on. No, I'm not. He's got a
Yes, you are.
He's got a 4-year-old daughter. So yes, I know there's like a grieving period, but there's a grieving period. But I mean, at what point do you say, I've got a 4-year-old daughter? Maybe I should take some personal accountability and learn how to cook
He's been
something.
trying to do that.
Here's the real dark road you should be taking. Maybe he was feigning incompetence to spend extra time with this young girl.
Maybe he
not
was.
not his daughter, the student girl.
Yeah.
The teenager.
We're going to get to that.
I'm getting killed. I bet I'm getting killed in the chat. I'm just gonna check.
No, like I get what you're playing at, Mitsuki. I do agree, but I do have to say I also have some friends who are comically bad at cooking.
But they don't have 4-year-old children.
Me.
No, they don't. But if you think about if someone who's comically bad at cooking marries someone who's really good at cooking, who their expectation is they're going to be the homemaker and take care of things, and they cook all the time, they still don't have to learn. Like,
Right.
they still don't have to. So if you have someone who's comically bad at cooking, who marries someone who's good at cooking, who's basically like, it's okay, I'll cook every meal of the day. And it's like, all right, I'll go out to work while you do that. And that's fine. If that's the division of labor that you want in your relationship, then cool. But I don't know. It doesn't. Yes, is something like cutting a carrot, does that seem a little extreme?
Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
exaggerated, obviously, but it's an anime. What do you expect?
But the idea of someone who can't cook, especially in the situation they've set him up in, and in the idea of it was a quote unquote traditional marriage where the wife stayed at home and took care of the home and the kids and the food and the cooking and the cleaning, and the husband went out and worked. I can believe that he is shit at cooking. And especially too, I mean, anyone who's ever been depressed for any reason, someone breaks up with you, you have a loss in the family, you get really bad news, you get laid off, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I know when the times in my life that I've hit something really hard and I've been really depressed, not only do I not want to eat in general, because I just have no appetite personally, but I don't want to cook. I just want to eat a tub of ice cream.
Isn't it so funny what I just did? I took an anime that like most people would go, oh, this is like a healing anime or whatever they say. And it's like, oh, nothing about this anime could possibly be negative. Everyone loves it. I think that's actually the case. I think it's quite good. Mm-hmm. I do think it's quite good. But even give all that given, I am going to stand by my point.
I feel like Mitsuki is praising himself for being the fairy of negativity.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, no, I'm trying to look. Someone in the chat said it's fictional. it's an anime, right? And I'm saying to myself, literally not a single other thing in this anime feels fictional. Even the little girl's behavior is realistic.
That's one thing that I will for sure praise the anime
So
for.
if you're going to be 100% realistic everywhere else, you can't just make things up and excuse something that's obviously sticks out to me.
Mitsuki's just going around the boat with his power drill, just drilling holes into it.
I'm just saying.
Fix those.
So anyways, back to kind of my summary. They meet this girl in the park. She gives them her family's business card. The daughter is like, I want to eat a real meal. It touches the father. He calls her up out of the blue. He's like, are you open? Can I come? And kind of is like not hearing anything else, rushes over to the restaurant, and it ends up being the girl that they saw in the park who actually goes to his school and is sort of one of his students. And her mother is actually the one who owns the restaurant. Well, her mother has become somewhat locally famous as a chef and is constantly busy now having TV spots and doing stuff like that. And she's never at the restaurant, and the restaurant is closed more days than not. And there's a dynamic of the daughter there with her mother. And it turns out the daughter is not so confident at cooking either. And the first night that they're there, it takes like an hour and a half, but she ends up cooking them some rice, and that ends up being dinner.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that relationship is forged.
Right. And so that's what got me into the show. Those were like basically the first 3 episodes. And I just thought it was first off, pardon the pun, but it's a very sweet show.
It is.
Yeah.
But why is it lightning?
I saw someone in the chat earlier. I forget who said it, but someone in the chat earlier in the episode mentioned that the lightning could be the young girl's kind of sweetness, and lightning could describe the young girl where she's very sweet and she's very innocent, but it could also be like she has lightning in the sense of she's energetic, but lightning also in the sense that she has those tantrums and is trying at times.
So I think one of the things that could be viewed as lightning is that, and one thing that you forget in the show is that the father and the daughter are going through a very tumultuous time in their life. You know, like she lost her mother and she's 4 years old, and he lost his wife, you know, and he's a young man who now has to take care of a child on his own. So like there's a storm brewing in their soul, and the sweetness is the time they spend together cooking, and that helps them to learn and grow to care for one another and to overcome the adversity. So that's why I passed the show. Now, the show itself can get somewhat repetitive because each episode is basically they're going to the restaurant, they're learning how to cook a random meal. There are a few instances where they'll have side adventures. Like I know there's an episode where the little girl, the dad is sick, and so she goes out.
that was a cute episode.
That was a cool episode because it shows like her going around town on her own, which she shouldn't be doing because she's 4 years old.
Though I will say in Japan, that's a lot more common.
Yeah, and she so she's going around town, and like she's doing that thing that kids do where it's like, oh, the floor is lava, except she's like walking on a line like that's painted on the road, and she's like pretending that she's walking on a tightrope, and there's like shark infested water around her and stuff. And it was cool. So it's like a cute little thing. So there's side things like that. There's another episode where she goes with, I guess, one of her father's friends.
Yeah, friend from high school.
Yeah, friend from high school, and he's like kind of babysitting her. And that was kind of a cute episode. So there's like these little side adventures, but the crux of the show is them getting together and cooking an interesting meal.
Do you know what I liked?
What's that?
I liked her don't clump dance.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
You know, one of the things, and I think this is an appropriate point to mention.
She shakes her butt like this. She gets
Yeah.
up like this.
She was twerking.
She goes, Dama,
Dama?
Dama, ni nara nai yo. I just shook my ass in
Thank you.
Cosmo's face.
Also,
Did
it's
you like
like
that?
slowly. I'm just glad
I'm
your
gonna do
penis
that.
didn't
I'm
fall
gonna do
out.
that in Japan. It will be. Can mark it on your calendars. It's gonna be an important night.
Okay.
It's gonna be March 29th at about 8:30 at night. And you and I are going to be totally naked in an onsen, and I'm going to do that in your face.
Oh no.
In your face.
Oh God.
You won't even know it's going to happen. You won't know. You won't be thinking about it. You're just going to be enjoying yourself, and all of a sudden, it's going to be straight up man ass in your face.
Ugh.
And I'm going to sing it. I'm going to sing the song too. Except then, Dama,
Oshidi?
which means a ball, will have a different meaning.
Oh, God.
That's fantastic.
The visual on that one.
Boom.
No, but what we touched on earlier.
Book your flights right now.
One of the things that I loved about this show was how real the little girl seemed as a toddler.
Right.
Toddler, young child, somewhere in that kind of
by the
range.
way,
And so the little girl would have these moments where she threw temper tantrums. But at the same time, she would also do things like the clump dance, or she would do things where she was on the verge of being really upset and one of the characters would distract her and then she'd be totally okay.
Yeah.
Like she felt like a real kind of young kid. And that's something that I feel like you don't get very often in anime. You don't get kids that act their age.
Not just her being realistic in the temper tantrums and whatnot, but her father being realistic and trying to figure out how to, like,
deal with it.
Yeah, like there's a scene where they're in a restaurant and, you know, she starts this downward spiral into a temper tantrum and he like quickly tries to discipline her, and she obviously doesn't react well to it, as most kids don't. And so, you know, later on in the show, without spoiling anything, they address that and he kind of learns and grows and figures out how to deal with the differences in her mood and personality. So it's not just her growing as a kid, but him growing as an adult.
Yeah. And growing as a parent.
and a chef.
And a chef.
And a chef.
He actually cooks okonomiyaki at the end of the show.
And a pedophile.
And about 10 times the time it... Wow.
That's the dark spin-off.
Wow. Well, you know what? If I can put a silver lining on that comment, he's probably 24, 26. Young man.
Right.
Middle 20s. And she's probably 16.
Yeah, the girl, not his
girl.
kid.
The high school girl.
The
High school girl. So
She's probably 16, 17.
I've seen worse.
Yeah.
You're branching on legal there. So it's not so bad.
I do have to say, since we're on that topic, I feel like total trash watching this show because
And
here is
you
a
wanted something to happen.
Here is a show
Oh my
where
gosh.
for once the high school teacher is not trying to hook up with the student. The
Right.
student is not sexualized. Their relationship is completely platonic. And I'm sitting here be like, hook up, damn you. Like,
You're like, man, you guys are really yeah, right? Like they worked well together, and you're like, if only the age was a little different.
but you know, on a different note of that, putting trash Chiaki aside, I look at that and I do think that they handled it in almost a very appropriate way where they kept things for him. They kept things very platonic and very innocent. But I do think there was a moment for her where
She
it was
had a
kind of
little crush on
addressed where she had a crush on him.
Yeah.
But it was never acted on.
Right.
And it was never a thing that was recognized as this could be a thing. Even her friend was kind of like, you kind of have a crush. I'm thinking of the one episode where they go out behind the shop.
Okay.
And there's an interaction between her and her friend.
Her blonde friend?
Her blonde friend. And her friend is kind of like, I came today because I didn't think it would be a big deal. But do you kind of want this to be your time?
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, yeah, I kind of do. And that to me was kind of the acknowledgement of all parties in the realistic, again, I'm putting trash Chiaki in the dumpster where she belongs in an appropriate land. But that was the moment to me that I looked at. And that does kind of feel real. I'm going to be honest. There was a teacher that I had in high school that I had a crush on. Like
Most of us
We've
have.
all had teachers in high school that we wanted to,
like
you know.
it happens, and it's one of those things that I almost feel like it's
You know.
it's realistic to happen that way
I do
in the way
appreciate-
that it did.
I do appreciate that they kept it above the line, though. You know, like at no point was there was no confusion on his part, not with himself or with any onlookers. Like,
Yeah.
you know, his friend who came and started hanging out, like there wasn't any situation where there was a confusion there. It was
Yeah.
like he was just there because he felt a responsibility and wanted to learn and grow on his own, and his daughter really got along well with this girl, and I think he felt bad because the high school girl's mother wasn't there and stuff like that. So
I think he definitely had affection for her, but I
Right.
think it was very kind of platonic and and situation appropriate.
Right.
Almost kind of like a secondary like daughter-esque affection
yeah.
of like
or a little sister, maybe.
or little sister. I could see that too. I definitely, and it's one thing that again, as a critic, I will praise the anime for, that it did not once make me feel like there was something there that was inappropriate or shouldn't be. And like I said, that's acknowledging the fact that I do think they recognize that on her side, there was a bit of affection, but it felt natural. It felt like, oh, this guy, I'm spending a lot of time with him and I like his daughter, but he's my teacher and I shouldn't have a crush on him, but I kind of do, and I'm just going to ignore it and let it be. The critic in me liked it. The trash in me was like, I need fan fiction.
You're ridiculous.
Yes, I am.
Now,
someone has to hold down the fort when Kimiko isn't here.
To get into, I guess, spoiler territory, but there's no spoilers on this show.
There really aren't.
There really aren't.
I guess one mild spoiler. So if you don't want to hear a mild spoiler,
do I need to play the spoiler drop for that?
Nah.
Okay.
Eventually, you do meet her mother.
It's not really a spoiler. It doesn't even matter.
And I think in that moment that you meet her mother,
it feels like there could be a thing.
You're like, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like because they set it up mad early that her mother is divorced.
Yeah.
And it's like single mom, single dad.
Yep.
Do you want to?
And her mother is hot.
Hot.
What the mother contributed to this anime was this. Mm-hmm. She makes a comment at the end of the show when they're eating food. They're eating their okonomiyaki, and the little girl, by no mistake of the anime's writing, says, "Wow, the okonomiyaki we made here tastes better than the okonomiyaki we had at the store."
Yes.
Or we had at the restaurant. And there's a reason for that. And the mother says, it tastes better because your father made it for you with his love.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everyone is astonished. I think the daughter or the friend says, "Oh, that's she said it like it was nothing. That's so and so for you. She's a famous TV personality." Mm-hmm. And the point of that is that how important the mother is in a relationship. To me, they were emphasizing motherhood, basically.
Yeah. To me, it was also a situation of emphasizing just family in general.
Yeah.
And that anything you have, it can be the exact same thing. But when to your point, Kazuo, family being just people you love, people you care about, those can be blood related or not blood related. But when you enjoy that with people whom you consider your family, your loved ones, it's better.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows that. Yeah. Like, everyone reaches a point in their life where it's like, I would rather eat McDonald's with the people I care about. And I don't like McDonald's, guys. I do eat some shit food, but I don't like McDonald's. That's just me.
McDonald's is my Achilles heel.
It's Steak and Shake for me.
Damn it. That
Steak and Shake is some good shit. Steak and Shake has that have those salt and vinegar French fries.
The garlic burger. I'm sure it's killing me every time I eat it, but that's okay. Anyways, the point is that I would rather eat some shitty ass food with people I love than eat a 5-course meal with people I don't give a shit about.
Or by yourself.
Or by myself, yeah.
Well, and that's one of the beautiful things. You look at the very beginning of the show, and it's this broken man and his daughter who's trying to figure out how to live now that she doesn't have her mother. Yeah. And then at the very end of the show, you look at the table, and it's him and his daughter, but there's also this girl and her friend and his friend and her mother. And it's like, and there is that family thing. Like you can tell, although the majority of the show is just kind of very repetitive and not very, there doesn't seem to be much progression and growth. But at the very last episode, you see, wow, they really did grow and change over these 12 episodes.
And there's symbolic things in the anime where at first, the high school girl, she struggled to make rice. Mm-hmm. She struggled to make rice. And then the next meal...
It's amazing, by the way. You pour rice in, you pour water in, you close the lid, and you hit go.
I can't cook to save my life.
I was gonna say, without a rice cooker, cooking rice is a trick. And that's coming from someone who knows how to do it.
How does that restaurant not have a rice cooker?
I'll tell you right now, I can't cook to save my life, but I make some bomb-ass rice. My rice is awesome. I'm telling you that 100%.
Most Japanese people regard rice cooked on the stove in a donburi, which is what she cooks, as better than in a rice cooker.
Yeah, I don't have a rice cooker. I cook it on the stove in a pot.
Well, chop. I'm hungry. Let's go.
But oh shit.
A little bit of salt, a little bit of butter. It's
I was
Let's
talking
go-
about the symbolism in the show. Where
Okay.
in the first episode, she struggles to make rice. And then in the second episode, they have rice and they have soup. And then as time goes on, they finally make a full meal. And then they start branching out and trying other things. And it's about getting the little girl to want to eat vegetables. And it's about making crepes and having the little girl's first time that she eats crepes be crepes her father made for her. And there are just... I was thinking about it when I was watching this show, because I'll be honest, this was a moment when I said, I am really effing busy. I have so many book deadlines staring me down. I do not have the time to watch a show. This was a show that Kazuo passed, so I know he's going to watch it, and I know Mitsugi will watch it, and I can check out. And this was one of those things where I watched 4 episodes, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm all in on this show. And I watched the entire thing in the span of about 48 hours. And I was thinking of Kiesniver when I was finished with it. And here's why I was thinking about it. Because Kimiko and I spent that entire review saying this anime has everything it needs to be amazing. And yet we couldn't get our hearts into it. Mm-hmm. Whereas Sweetness and Lightning, I look at and I'm like, this anime technically does nothing.
Yeah.
It technically does nothing. And I loved it so much. I loved it more than I have loved an anime in a long time.
It's 100% heart.
Yeah,
This
for sure.
show. Like, it may not have the greatest, the most interesting storyline. It is slice of life to its core. And I know a lot of people don't like slice of life because they find it boring. And it's like, I don't really want to, and I've had some criticisms for the genre. Like, there are some shows where I'm like, I don't give a crap about these characters. I don't want to sit here and watch them go to school or whatever it is they're doing. But like this show, like, you just get so hooked on these characters and they're so real.
And I think that's a good point where it's like slice of life. What makes a great slice of life is, yes, it is like a literal slice of someone's life, but it's also the characters still accomplish something. And I can look at the show and I can say at the start of the show, they couldn't cook and they were lonely and sad. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the show, they were surrounded by people they loved and they could cook.
Yeah.
And that is, at the start of the show, you look at the relationship of the father with his daughter and how he's taking care of his daughter. And you're like, I don't know what's going to happen with these people. I don't know how they're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. He's barely making it by. And at the end of the show, he's a father that you look at and you're like, this guy is going to be okay.
Yeah.
He's going to be okay.
That's exactly what it is.
And the trash me needs some fan fiction.
All right, let's score it. It's time. The time has come.
All right. Mitsuki, I feel you've spoken the least about this show, so I'd like to hear
Oh,
your
I
final
don't know about
thoughts.
that.
What?
I think I spoke plenty, thank you.
Okay.
You had some good contributions.
Definitely. No, I just meant like in comparison, the amount of time on mic.
I would give the show, I think it didn't do a lot, but I think that it targeted its goal. It was a very targeted anime. A lot of anime, you'll see them try to do a little bit of too much. Mm-hmm. They spread themselves a little too thin, and Sweetness and Lightning tried to accomplish a couple things really well and did a pretty good job of that, I thought. And because of that, which I actually prefer that over the alternative, which would be like Tokyo Ghoul or something, where it's like funny and then it's violent and then it's dark and then it's drama. This was just a show about family and, coming together as people. And so I'm going to give it 4 carrots that maybe are impossible to cut out of 5.
Chiaki?
I'll go next. I can look at it critically and I can say, it didn't do that much. It wasn't visually stunning. It didn't have like a soundtrack that just was eargasmic. But this anime had so much heart. It knew exactly what it was. It stayed true to that and it worked. And that was something that I don't find in anime as often. I don't find anime that I watch and I'm like, I loved this show. And so I'm going to knock it down from a critical perspective, but I'm going to pump it up a little bit from a heart perspective, and I realize that's arbitrary and I try not to do that. And so I'm trying to find the middle ground, but I'm also going to say 4 perfectly cooked donburis of rice or whatever dons of rice out of 5, because nabe, That is the word I'm looking for. Nabe means vessel.
They didn't eat nabe. They should have.
No, but
that's like
nabe,
the key family meal.
Nabe literally means vessel. Oh, now that it's getting colder, we should have a nabe night.
Nabe time.
But yeah, I'm gonna say
We should just eat
4 out of
nabe on
5
this
as
podcast.
well.
We can open up the windows or something, make it cold in here, and cook nabe.
That's what I'm
on this
thinking.
table.
A cooking episode
Guess
where we
what?
prep nabe.
Guess what? Guess what you can cook nabe on?
What?
A little gas stove.
Sweet.
Guess who has that?
You?
I do.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, we're gonna have a nabe. We're gonna have a cooking episode with nabe for wintertime.
Nabe party.
Book it. That shit's coming
So,
sometime in December.
this is a show I passed a little while back. Didn't have very high expectations for it. I thought, oh, if anything, this will just be a nice little show about a dad and his daughter. And I distinctly recall thinking it's such a unique perspective because so often in anime, I mean, there's a billion anime about kids, about a group of kids going on an adventure. And you never really get to see the parents' perspective. Like, very seldom do you. And this was not only a parent's perspective, but a single parent who had recently gone through a tragedy with his child. So this show was very unique to me. As we've discussed, it's not the most complex show. Not a lot really happens on paper. Like, if I were to describe to you what happens each episode, it would be pretty simple. But overall, and I said it before, this show is 100% heart. This show is about the human condition at its purest level. Like, this is, our lives are not going on crazy adventures. Our lives are getting by day to day. And this show shows people getting by day to day and making those small changes that you like to see in a slice of life show over time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's easily digestible. It's something that you can just throw on an episode. It's only 12 episodes, so it's something you can easily watch. Granted, it's not a perfect show. So critically, I would also have to give it 4 chocolate candies that look like cigarettes out of 5.
Sweep it.
Wow, a solid 4 sweep though
Sweep it.
is
Yep.
good.
Yeah, that was a better score than the chat gave it on average. The average for the chat was a 3 to 3.5.
You guys need to have more heart.
You're all a
Or-
bunch of haters.